In part one of my interview with former senior advisor to President Obama, David Axelrod, we talked about the growing polarization in American politics. Now in part two, we look ahead to 2016, and we talk about what he believes voters will be looking for and what issues he hopes both political parties will take up. Let's talk a little bit about 2016. Beyond their positions on issues, we won't go candidate by candidate. What do you look for to know, is somebody going to be viable? Are they in this for the long haul? Can they survive the long haul? What do you look for?
You know, Genevieve, it's a really good question, because we in the political community, every day is election day for us. Somebody has a bad day, somebody has a bad week. We draw universal conclusions about their viability. The truth is, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and you get tested along the way. I can tell you, and I wrote in the book that I just wrote, Believer, that Barack Obama was not a very good candidate for many months when he declared his candidacy, because he wasn't accustomed to the kind of constant scrutiny and the gotcha games and so on that are associated with running for president. It is a very hard gauntlet, and what tends to happen is people clear the early bars, the early bars easily, but the bar gets raised, and you get tested as time goes on. The questions get harder, you get more closely scrutinized, and so the question is who will hold up well under those circumstances. I also think authenticity matters. I think people want in their presidents and in their candidates for president people who are comfortable in their own skin, who are candid about what they believe and comfortable with saying what they believe. And you know, I think that is it is a very, very important element. And if you look at the elections over the last many cycles, I think the candidate who seems most comfortable in their own skin tends to win the election.
And you thought that was true of, obviously, Barack Obama, but also of George W. Bush?
Absolutely. George W. Bush, you know, I don't agree with on a lot of the decisions that he made, but the decisions he made were the decisions that he believed, that he wasn't making those decisions based on some political calculus. I mean, there's some on the right who may have some questions about the Medicare prescription plan before the 2004 election, but generally I think he took the positions that he believed were right, and people recognize that. They may not have agreed with the positions, and ultimately, you know, he ran into some choppy waters, but certainly he was authentic.
Let's talk policy issues and how those may play out in 2016. There are a lot of folks on the left have talked a lot about income inequality. On the right, you have it reshaped, and we talk more about the issue of economic mobility, people's ability to rise up. Is that going to be the defining issue in 2016? Should it be?
I think it should be, and I think it will be, and I think it should be because it is the legitimate, I think, fundamental challenge of our time. Here in the industrial Midwest, we felt it greatly, the loss of jobs to countries where production could be much cheaper, labor standards lower, environmental standards lower, human rights standards lower. And the implication of all that is that we've seen a flattening of wages. For the first few decades after World War II, wages grew with productivity, with economic growth, and that has not been the case for the last several decades, and we've seen these pressures building. I don't think sort of glib kind of anti-government rhetoric is the answer. I don't think people believe that is the answer. I think that there are appropriate and not appropriate places for government, but there is a healthy debate to be had. My great fervent hope is that you'll have a Democratic candidate and a Republican candidate who will honestly bring their views to that debate, and then the country can decide which direction they want to go.
Are there other issues that you think ought to be in the spotlight that you think the candidates either should or will be forced to talk about?
Well, I think that foreign policy and the discussion of foreign policy will be part of this discussion because the world is a unsettled place. There are real threats that we face, and some of them are threats to our safety, and others are threats to our economy, challenges, I should say, to our economy. And they're all, and the world itself is a little less predictable than the bipolar world we had when the U.S. and the Soviet Union dominated geopolitics. But I do think that as people sit around their kitchen tables, they're thinking how to stay ahead of the bills, how to educate their kids, how to put some money away, and perhaps have the ability to retire someday. And those are still going to be the central issues.